Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2658 BN. Today's date is December 21st, 2021, and the title of the episode is The Insurrection Occurred on 11.3. January 6 details emerge, exposing the deep state operation. Let's talk about protecting yourself online. It's being reported that the top 5 tech corporations are lobbying hard against consumer privacy. These corporations include Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google. Google, for example, boasted about delaying e-privacy regulations. They are said to be colluding with Facebook. Amazon has also successfully lobbied against 36 privacy protection bills across 25 states. I do everything in my power to ensure my privacy online. That means I'll always keep my VPN on. Virtual Shield has been built from the ground up for your protection. I think it's the fastest, most reliable, easy to use, and secure. It's also available on iPhone and Android devices. Virtual Shield right now is giving everyone 50% off for life and a free 30-day trial of Virtual Shield during the holidays. Go to virtualshield.com/X22 or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, from the very beginning, we knew that Trump and the Patriots, their entire mission was to expose the deep state, to show the people of this country who they truly, really are. Remember, they hide behind their suits. They hide behind their roles. They pretend they're just like us, that they just want freedom, the Constitution. They're just doing the right thing. But as time has been going on, and we've had this pandemic, we can see that those individuals who pretend to be just like us, their true nature is now coming out. And now with Omicron, with their last push, with everything they can throw at it, you can see their true nature. Think about what's happening around this country. It's not every governor, it's not every mayor, but look at certain individuals and look what they're pushing. They love the control. They love to see people suffer. If you don't do what we say, you will suffer and suffer. You will not be part of society, and we will make you pay. That's really what they're doing now with Omicron. Look at Chicago, look at New York, look at Biden. He just came out and told everyone, just do it. Stop listening to everyone else. Listen to us. We're desperate. Please, just take the booster. This is how desperate they're getting. They're so desperate that they're begging people to take it. They're so desperate that they're trying to place certain rules on people and make people suffer. Too many false positives. And remember, they always use the term with. Oh, this person died with COVID. Well, what did they actually die of? They might have had pneumonia. They might have had the chickenpox. But what they actually die from? See, this is how they use word games on everyone. But it's all falling apart. And think about it. They're doing this last push because they know if they can't control the people, what happens next? Look what's happening with the election. Trump continually points out 11.3, November 3rd, was the real insurrection. There's a reason why he's continually pointing to this, because they caught them all. January 6th, well, there's a lot of information coming out which is exposing the FBI, Antifa, Nancy Pelosi, and the rest, showing that this was a deep state operation. Everything they're trying to do is completely falling apart on them. They don't own the narrative. They've lost it already with the people. And as they keep pushing and they keep showing people how they're the dictators, how they don't care about the Constitution, how they don't care about the people's rights, this doesn't get better for them. It gets worse and worse. And this is something that Trump and the Patriots want. They want people to see the true nature of these individuals and how far they will go. Yes, they want you to suffer. Actually, they would rather have you dead because you'd be out of the way. You could see it in the way they speak to we the people. Just think about how the resident in the White House speaks to the people of this country. He's talking to you like you're nothing. Just do what I say. I don't care if you don't believe or you do believe. Just do it. They don't care. And now people can see the truth. We're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, guess what? Another individual is not seeking re-election. This is Representative Lucille Roybal Allard, Democrat from California. Decided, you know something? I'm not going to seek re-election in 2022. This is the 23rd incumbent Dem that won't seek re-election next year. That's very interesting. The other thing that's very interesting is that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she was giving a speech out in San Francisco, and people came by and said, let's go, Brandon. USA, USA. Very soon, these individuals, they will not be able to walk down the street. As they keep pushing and pushing and pushing and showing how they're dictators, how they don't support and defend the Constitution, how they don't support the people, defend their rights, they won't be able to walk down the streets in the end. Now, what's very interesting is that Truth Hammer decided, hey, let's take a look at all the D's that decided not to run. Is this normal? Is this something that we've seen before? Or are there a lot more Dems saying, I don't want to seek re-election? And this is what Truthhammer put out on Telegram. Is it true that U.S. House Dems are abandoning ship? I keep hearing that more Dems than usual are choosing not to run again. Digging into to test the significance of that versus norms. This image shows the retirement-related turnover for the last 11 years. We also know the average total service for all U.S. House reps is 8.9 years. With 435 reps divided by 8.9 years, there will be a total average annual turnover of 48.9 reps per year, 25.5 by retirement, 23.5 by being defeated. Statistically, there should be 13 Dem retirements this year and 12 Republicans. 23 Dems and 12 Republicans have announced so far. So that is 178% of normal, or 10 extra so far for the Dems. So the rumors appear to be true, and at least 10 extra Dems are bailing early from the U.S. House of Representatives in 2022 so far. I do believe there's a lot more to come. Remember, what happens if they knowingly knew about the cheating in the election? What happens if they knew that they got into their position because they cheated? Well, they wouldn't be able to run for re-election. Actually, they might be going to prison. A lot of these individuals said, you know something, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So they're dropping out. And we can see that Hillary Clinton, with all the information coming out right now, she is continually making the rounds now, and she's going on all the fake news stations trying to say that Trump is the one who committed a coup. She's projecting everything that the deep state, the D's, have done onto Trump once again. She's trying to make her case, and there's a reason why she's making the rounds. I do believe, just like Q said, how do you slip one in? I think we're almost there. Why? Because look what special counsel John Durham is doing. He's investigating the members of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. Remember, we know from one of the posts, the people that are in certain positions, they think they can't be touched. If all of a sudden Hillary Clinton is, let's say, vice president, she believes she's untouchable. Is that true? Absolutely not. But look what special counsel John Durham is doing. We know that Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign and the DNC paid for a Steele junk dossier and paid for work provided by Fusion GPS. Hillary Clinton's camp hid the payments to Steele and Fusion GPS through payments to her lawyers at Perkins Coie, Mark Elias and Michael Sussman. The latest developments in the Durham case against Danchenko suggest Sussman isn't the only Clinton lawyer in the special counsel's crosshairs. Other Clinton campaign lawyers and former members of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign are also under investigation, according to Durham's latest filing. So Durham notices the potential conflict of interest in informing the court that Danchenko's trial might raise the following issues: the Clinton campaign, knowledge or lack of knowledge concerning the veracity of information in the Fusion GPS reports sourced by Danchenko, the Clinton campaign's awareness or lack of awareness of Danchenko's collection methods and subsources, meetings or communications between and among the Clinton campaign, Fusion GPS, and or Steele regarding or involving Danchenko knowledge or lack of knowledge regarding the Clinton campaign role in and activity surrounding the Fusion GPS reports, and the extent to which the Clinton campaign or its representatives directed, solicited, or controlled Danchenko's activities. Durham even raises the potential that members of the Clinton campaign may be called to testify at Danchenko's trial. You think Hillary Clinton's panicking right now? Of course she is. Remember, these people are never going to admit that they did anything wrong. They're going to continue to lie and lie and lie until the very, very end. And even when they're on trial, they're going to lie. Even when they have the documentation, all the paperwork, the payments and everything, they will continue to lie. Why? Because they're criminals. They're part of a criminal syndicate. They're never going to tell the truth. Now, what's very interesting with this pandemic, we can see, and we've kind of called it, that these individuals were going to do the Hail Mary. They're going to throw everything at this pandemic right now, because what's happening? We know that the CDC, the FDA, the WHO, what did they do? They already admitted that the PCR test does not work. It gives too many false positives. So if that is the case, then all the cases of this ridiculous vaccine, they want you on your knees saying, yes, you're right about January 6th. It was an insurrection and Trump was responsible, but it's not working. It's completely falling apart. Right now, Judge Hogan, he ordered the release of the 3 hours of Capitol surveillance video from inside the West Terrace tunnel on January 6th. This was the scene of fierce battles between the police and Trump supporters. And this is when the police beat the hell out of Trump supporters that day, killing 2 female Trump supporters. So Basically, right now, we're going to see a lot more information. I would like to see the entire 14,000 hours of videotape to see exactly what happened there. And I do believe it's going to tell a completely different story. Now, Brian Cates, he put this out on Telegram. He says, the 1-6 committee violated its own charter legislation. This isn't a secret to anybody who studied how this unfolded from the beginning. Flynn has an extremely strong argument here that literally everything this 1-6 committee has done carries no legal force because the committee wasn't even established according to its own stated rules. This applies especially to subpoenas issued by the committee. They have no legal force. There's no getting around this. The congressional rules and committee charter clearly state how such a committee is to be formed and how members to the committee are to be appointed. Pelosi and Thompson repeatedly violated these rules to launch the 1-6 committee and get it up in a hurry and get their document fishing expedition going. Not only did Pelosi and Thompson not follow the clearly stated rules for forming the 1-6 committee, they also blatantly violated the clearly stated rules for how the committee issues a legally enforceable subpoena or orders a witness to appear for a deposition. As the committee chair, Thompson is required by the rules to consult with the ranking minority member of the committee before ordering subpoenas to be issued or depositions from witnesses to be taken. But surprise, the 1-6 committee has no ranking minority member. Pelosi and Thompson ignored the 5 Republicans McCarthy submitted for committee membership, appointed anti-Trump hater Rhino Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger instead, and they didn't make either of them the ranking minority member. Then Brian Cates points to Section 76 here in the document. It says, Congress has no freestanding power to issue subpoenas. Instead, its investigative powers are ancillary to its legislative authority. Trump versus Mazars. Then he says, note who it was who established the very recent legal precedent, Trump, and closed a loophole that is going to now render every single subpoena issued by this illegally formed and constituted sham committee moot. Absolutely. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that General Flynn, he has filed a restraining order against Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the injunctive relief against Liz Cheney. So remember, Flynn did not organize, speak, or even participate in any of the rallies in D.C. on January 6th. Despite this, Pelosi and Liz Cheney January 6th committee have been targeting and harassing Flynn in order to bankrupt him and destroy him from his association with Trump. So right now, Flynn, he filed a restraining order. And he also put this out on Telegram. And this is from a tweet from Noor bin Laden. It says, they stole the election from the American people, then framed those who called them out and protested for their rights. Revolver painstakingly analyzed all the available footage. January 6th was an operation devised to entrap the patriots. Then Trump put this statement out. Meet Ray Epps, Part 2. Damning new details emerge exposing massive web of unindicted operators at the heart of January 6th. He says, wow, much being learned about the January 6th protest. Remember, the insurrection took place on November 3rd. So let's look at this article because it's very interesting. Now they're pointing out the people that are part of the FBI that helped with their insurrection. Because remember, they caused the insurrection on January 6th. The real insurrection was November 3rd, as Trump says. But let's look at this. And I'm going to read portions of it. If and this is Ray Epps, turns out to have been some kind of government operative, which he is, which at present is the only clean and simple explanation for his immunity. It is game over for the official MAGA insurrection, narrative 1-6. Epps was the day's loudest riot recruiter and its apparent leader of the very first breach of the Capitol. If Ray Epps is a Fed, the insurrection becomes the Fed-surrection in one fell swoop. But it is imperative to note that Epps was just a cog in a much larger federal operation. He would not have been deployed alone. Historically speaking, when feds have orchestrated fake mobs and fake protesters or contrived fake conspiratorial plots, the feds' own assets have commonly comprised between 16% to 25% of the plot's participants, at least in its key respects. Indeed, the FBI once flew in 1,600 rowdy spooks to infiltrate a single convention with just 10,000 protesters. So if Ray Epps was instructed by the government to play his part in various recruiting, breaching, and crowd control efforts that day, we would expect many other informants to be set up around him. To test this hypothesis, Revolver spent the past 6 weeks comprehensively mapping Ray Epps' network of interactions on January 6th and profiling the key people around him who complemented his efforts. We did a deep dive into other key figures involved in the initial breach of the Capitol grounds, as well as figures who played an instrumental role in fence removal and crowd control. In short, we investigated key players whose early actions on 1/6 turned the rally into a riot. The bad news for the Fedsurrection deniers is the results are in, and they look even worse for the FBI than revolvers' already low expectations. For brevity, we profile 5 of the most egregious cases in this report and tell the story of how they crossed paths and interacted with, in some cases, coordinated with Ray Epps to make 1/6 possible. Some of these cases are so wild as to constitute Epps-sized scandals unto themselves. Revolver makes no facial allegations about any of these individuals below. However, some very serious, shocking, and time-sensitive questions are raised by this report. To that extent, our accusations and demands are aimed squarely at the U.S. Justice Department. FBI Director Chris Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland have an awful lot of explaining to do. So basically, they mapped out where Ray Epps' breach team was compared to the Capitol on this map. And the tactical importance of this breach location is that it was the very first walkway entrance into the Capitol grounds that every Trump supporter would arrive at first as they walked from Trump rally to the Capitol. The Ray Epps breach team had the amazing foresight to pry open one of the walkway entrances that no one could avoid. So basically, think about that. They opened it up. So the Ray Epps breach team thus set up a booby trap by pushing back the police, then hauling away the restricted area signage, the chain fencing, and the metal barricades, all while tens of thousands were still at the Trump rally. Without police present or do not enter signs prominently visible, people leaving Trump's speech and arriving at the Capitol entrance would have no idea it was illegal to walk through the gate or onto the lawn or up to the Capitol steps. After all, this entire area is ordinarily open to the public. Instead, they heard friendly music and saw the main walkway to the Capitol grounds wide open. These unwitting Trump supporters had no idea they had just crossed an invisible tripwire that would later subject them to federal prosecution for trespassing. In our October 10th Revolver report, we showed January 6 footage of one dark, complected man coolly and methodically cutting down and then rolling up restricted area fencing around the Capitol lawn. He had no Trump gear on and made sure to wear dark sunglasses on a cloudy day. He was not angry. He was not dispassionate, calm, and professional, like he was just there to do a job. And you can see it in the video where the guy's just taking down the fence. And this man remains unindicted. Isn't that interesting? In fact, the FBI doesn't even appear to be looking for him. He is wholly absent from the FBI Capitol Most Wanted list. There's no reward for information leading to his arrest. Instead, they arrested grandmas, grandpas, people that weren't doing anything. Despite the FBI's lack of interest in this brazen booby trapper seen rolling up restricted area fencing, online researchers have stayed on the case. They have dubbed this individual Fence Cutter Bulwark. Now, the Bulwark, that name is from his fire retardant jacket, designed for professional use in oil and gas industry. You'll see more fire retardant jackets among the unindicted below, and then gives pictures of all these individuals. They're dressed as exactly the same, all part of the same exact group. Now, perched right across from the Fence Cutter Bulwark at 12:31 p.m. is the man widely regarded by online researchers as the most infamous of all unindicted January 6 riot leaders, a man unmentioned in the mainstream media press, but elevated to the legendary status as NW Scaffold Commander. And he's right there, and this is the individual that they followed. And also in the picture, there's the individual who's wearing the Bulwark jacket. So when you look at the Capitol during this period of time, there was a scaffold there, and it's the perfect command post that anyone seeking to monitor and direct the Capitol crowd could possibly hope for. It stands front and center, everyone can see it, and the man high atop can see and scream down to all. So basically, this individual had a bullhorn. He was up there, and it's amazing how they had the Confederate flag, they had the people dressed up, they had the people all in their positions. Rally goers could hear his confident and constant commands with total clarity all the way back at the entrance to the Capitol lawn. For new entrants arriving at the Capitol grounds, Scaffold Commander's voice would be the first and loudest voice they heard. Scaffold Commander even mixed in damsel in distress type appeals, so new arrivals would perceive that moving forward would be doing their part to rescue innocent Trump supporters who need your help. Basically, all of this was set up, and now Revolver, and Trump is pointing to Revolver, we can see those players now. This is starting to fall apart. And this reminds me of Post 2632. This is December 20th, 2018, coming up on just past a 3-year delta. And it says, why would the FBI director take the time to visit all 56 FBI field offices around the entire United States? Completed this week, logical thinking. Now, what's very interesting, there's another post about Director Wray. Now, it said that he could be a sleeper. I wonder if this is going to be used later on, because remember, Trump and the Patriots, they know the playbook. They're in control. Devolution is operational. We are at war. Trump is a military commander right now, commander-in-chief. And I do believe Trump, the patriots, the military, they gave these people a choice. You can either go to prison or you can help us. And I wonder if Ray is all of a sudden going to turn later on. We're going to have to wait to see, but this is very interesting. Then Trump put this statement out. Why isn't the Unselect Committee of highly partisan political hacks investigating the cause of the January 6th protests, which was the rigged presidential election of 2020? Does anybody notice that they want to stay as far away from the topic as possible? The numbers don't work for them or even come close. The only thing they can do is not talk about it. Look at what is going on now in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, and to a lesser extent, Michigan, where the numbers are horrendously corrupt in Detroit. But the weak Republican rhinos in the Michigan House and Senate don't want to touch the subject. In many ways, a rhino is worse than a radical left Democrat because you don't know where they're coming from and you have no idea how bad they really are for our country. The good news is there are fewer and fewer rhinos left as we elect strong patriots who love America. Offensive. I will be having a news conference on January 6th at Mar-a-Lago to discuss all of these points and more. Until then, remember, the insurrection took place on November 3rd. It was the completely unarmed protest of the rigged election that took place on January 6th. Now, that's very interesting. He's going to have a news conference on January 6th, the day the deep state created the fake insurrection. He continually tells us that November 3rd was the real insurrection. So let's go back to post 4524. This is June 25th, 2020. It says the following: all assets, foreign, domestic, deployed. D's plus China equals 11.3. And it's very interesting that Trump is picking January 6th to give a news conference to go over some important points. Remember, Truth Social is coming online. He has his acquisition company. And I do believe that Trump, he's been building the offensive, and now he's ready to move forward with this major offensive to hunt down the rest of these people and show the country the truth. And I do believe this is all going to begin. Probably the kickoff is January 6th with his news conference. Who's in control? The patriots are in control. Who's going to feel pain? The deep state players, the D's, the fake news, big tech. And yes, they will try to fight back. Yes, they will push as hard as they can. They will throw everything that they have. And when they can't control the flow of information, what red line do you think they're going to cross? The communication blackout line. They'll cross that. They'll shut it down. Will it really be shut down, or are there countermeasures in place? As we can see, there are countermeasures in place. Will they push riots then to create chaos? Is it going to be Antifa, BLM? Yes, but who are they going to be dressed up as? Trump supporters. What do you think happened in January 6th? Why do you think they're continually pushing this? This is part of their plan. But Trump, he's ready to show everyone the truth. Now, is everyone going to believe it? Most likely not. Sometimes you have to show them. And I do believe all these red lines is to show the people the truth. And the deep state, D's, in the end, they will cease to exist. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.